You're listening to the Digital Deep Dive, where we tackle the newest trends, strategies, and pain points shaping growth across the digital landscape. From Amazon and D2C to international expansion, join our host and e-commerce leaders across multiple industries for in-depth discussions on how to maximize your brands in the digital arena. Now, here's your host, Aaron Conant.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Digital Deep Dive podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Conant, and today we're going to dive into, I want to say, a variety of things. And from that standpoint, I hear a lot of conversations around conversion rate optimization, customer experience. How do we solve for it? It hasn't changed for a while. And I got connected with a really cool company called App0. And so Darpan Saini is here today to kind of walk us through what he's seen in the space. And anyways, it's going to be a cool conversation, but I'll just kick it over to you, Darpan. If you want to jump in, would love to hear your background, what you see going on in this space, and we can kind of jump into the conversation. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here and giving me this chance to talk to you about App0 and AI in general. To begin with, I'm Darpan. I'm CEO of App0. We are an AI agent platform built specifically for e-commerce. And what that means is when we build our company and our product and our platform, we are always thinking about how we can bring value to e-commerce companies. So, when we say that we are built for e-commerce, that's how we think about ourselves, think about everything that we do. And so at the highest level, we are thinking about, how can we help e-commerce companies grow their top line, grow more revenue? How can we help them be more efficient and scale more efficiently? So how can we increase the bottom line? And then overall, the nature of the technology that we are working with, the latest in AI, tends to be one that we think is going to reshape the customer experience. And so from that point of view, we are working to help e-commerce companies achieve these business objectives through reshaping, redefining, transforming, iteratively improving, whichever way you want to call it, the customer experience, because I think that really is the big opportunity here.
Yeah, what does that look like? Because I think we would all agree, like the shopping experience online has not changed much. Right. And it's everything from, where the search bar is at to where the chat window pops up to how you engage with it or how you search. It includes checkout, especially. And when I hear a lot of questions around, hey, I need to up the conversion rate, right? I've spent all this time, effort, money of driving people to my direct consumer site. There aren't a lot of levers there that have been created and are getting pulled. As a whole, you have the pop out wheel, right? Spin and get 10% off. I don't see that having a huge impact. But would love to hear your thoughts. Like, what does it look like, and what are you seeing happen for like the best in class, like direct to consumer sites, the things they're addressing from that customer experience, that customer interaction? I guess we're talking an agent or agentic AI.
Yeah, I think if we take a step back and think about, the evolution of the user experience, you mentioned that, broadly, I think it's a fair statement to say that it hasn't really changed dramatically over, the last 10, 15, 20 years, maybe, right? But there have been iterative, smaller changes to the experience. Sites have gotten a lot faster. There's been a whole bunch of work done on optimizing the user experience so that, you go to a website, you expect certain things, right? You expect that there's going to be a search. You expect that the process of shopping is going to be more or less streamlined to the extent possible, right? So you're not having to unnecessarily have a whole bunch of clicks in your process and so on, right? We think that whole optimization has stagnated. So we have reached a point where almost every website's user experience has been optimized to the extent where you can't really do much more. You can't really do much with existing technology. And I think people, when this whole optimization thing started, they were using data to figure out, where do I put this button and where do I put that button, and does red work better or does green work better, and all those UI sort of tricks. I think we have reached a point where you're reaching a point of diminishing returns, right? You're unnecessarily trying to optimize and over optimize workflow. So what we think is, you know, let's get to the core of the problem. What's really going on when someone comes to your website? What is it that they are looking to do? Why did they come there? And can they actually get what they are looking for, right? And so this means that when I go to, if I'm going to a website that I already know about, right, it's maybe lesser of a challenge, and there's like different things to do there versus when I'm going to a new website, right? So when I'm going and going to a website where I don't know much about the product, I don't know much about the brand, I don't know whether this will work for me. I am really looking for a personalized experience when I go there first. And that's been an extremely difficult problem, right? Because you have no data to play off of there when somebody comes to your website first. And there are certain types of things that I buy online which naturally require a lot more questioning from me as a shopper as opposed to other things. So, just if I'm looking to buy a t-shirt, well, yeah, maybe I have some questions, but not that many, right? But if I'm looking to buy a whole bunch of category of products like home furnishings, well, I have a lot of questions. If I'm looking to buy supplements, yeah, I have a lot of questions. If I'm looking to buy beauty products, yeah, I have a lot of questions. I need to do a lot more research before I'm able to, make that jump or make that purchase or, spend this $100 or $200 that I want to spend for that particular product. And, that can vary as well, right? So in those situations, I think where a user needs the information, which is very, very specific to what they are looking for, the experience can be, I think can actually be dramatically different, dramatically better, not just different, but can actually be better using this AI technology. So what we are seeing is, how can I actually get the information that the user needs at just the right time and very, very specific to them that can help them overcome or help them find what they're looking for just at that moment.
So is it a pop-up? Is it done in the search bar? Because I'm thinking of those experiences. In some cases, what I do is I will go, and again, this is me search, right? Is I would go on the website and then I would leave and go do a Google search. And now I'm actually leaving and doing a Chat GPT search to get information around it. I mean, from a brand perspective, I don't want somebody leaving the website. I want them to get as much as they can and answer all those questions. Difference is like I fundamentally changed how I search because of Chat GPT. And I'm sure that's, everybody using Claude or Perplexity or whatever else is doing it as well, which is I don't search like just by pecking, right? Which is, black plaid shirt, fun, not fun, something like that is I search like, hey, I'm going to a wedding. There's going to be dancing. It's going to be outdoors. Is black plaid shirt acceptable or fun? My wife is wearing a red dress. I put in all that extra information and it kicks me out an answer. That's why I love ChatGPT is I fundamentally talk to it different. Is that what is something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So that is definitely one of the emerging interfaces that we are working on, and that what our customers are providing to their shoppers or our merchants are providing to their shoppers. But to think about it, if you had this technology, and we are providing different interfaces of how it appears on your website, and it doesn't necessarily just have to be this chat interface. So ChatGPT is pretty much a chat interface for the most part. You can do other things there now that is becoming more and more agentic. And we can get into what specifically is the meaning of the word agentic and what is AI agents. But from a website's point of view, you want to provide your users this capability of getting what they're looking for in any different format that you can. It doesn't necessarily just have to be like a chat bubble or a chat bot on the right hand side. So an example of it could be like providing a quiz. Now today you provide quizzes to your customers, and the quizzes that you provide today are fairly limited, right? Because either you are asking too few questions to make a really good recommendation, or you're asking too many questions and then you have people dropping off in the middle of the quiz because you people just can't answer so many questions, right?
Yeah, you give me the 8 questions, I'm done. I just give up and I leave. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So could you create a quiz experience that is, personal, can actually get the information that you want from the user very, very quickly and direct them in such a way that you get what you're looking for, the customer is able to give what they want to give you in terms of information and recommend a product. So that's one way, right? A different way could be, maybe a customer is looking at three products and repeatedly looking at them. Well, maybe they're trying to compare them, right? So can you provide a product comparison interface to them where they can, easily compare them and then dive deep into certain attributes of the product that they really care about? So, you can get product comparison tables today if you have structured data, but maybe a person really cares about, you know, um, how does the memory compare between these two laptops? I really need to know that. I don't care about all the other features you have there, but can I dive deeper into the different aspects of memory between these two computers, right? So that's like a product comparison interface. FAQs, right? So these are important but static parts of your website. But ask yourself, are they truly frequently asked questions? These are just what you think are frequently asked. But do you have data on what your customers are really truly frequently asking? So can you actually create an interface that is surfacing only those questions which are actually more frequently asked, right? So only surface the questions which are most frequently asked. Right? That's another example. Search is another one. So, today when you go to a search bar, you can type in your keywords. Depending on the sophistication of your search, you may or may not get the right results. If you get the right results, you're going to see this massive filter on your left-hand side, which is like, 10 levels deep, and you're trying to figure out how do I, select all those filters. But could you actually have a conversational search, right? You could say, oh, I'm looking for, just as you said, I'm looking for this shirt, there's going to be partying and so on. So you could say, hey, keep this under $500. I don't know, maybe you buy a $500 shirt, right? But it's like, okay, keep this under $100 if it's me. Keep it under $100. That's what I want to do, right? So you can enter all this very, very easily. So I think if you put all this together, it's a fundamentally different experience for the user as opposed to what you have today.
Yeah. I mean, I think as we even go down this path of even voice search and voice commerce, which I think is where we're going, right? I think one of the inhibitors in the past is just how people do search or they interact with a website, which is usually, again, just pecking in words, right? Random ones and letting it go find the right tags within the PIM or the DAM and pulling it out and hoping there's a match. And if there's not, then I'm getting no results or I'm getting wrong results. And then that means I'm getting the wrong suggestions as other products as well. But as I change, and I think a lot of people are, how they actually do these searches and they interact, which is more conversational, as you were saying. Like, if I can all of a sudden start having a conversation, I don't have to type out. I haven't had it before because it's not my natural, speech pattern. But if I can engage with a website in a natural speech pattern and it can read it back to me and we can just have a conversation, I'm seeing exactly what you're talking about, just helping transform it at the next level where I don't even have to type in anymore. If we fast forward what I would have thought then 5 years, but probably in reality is closer to 2. If this, as this stuff, what the stuff that you're doing really takes off, which I totally believe it will. I totally believe it will. Wow, this is cool. So on the quiz piece, is it automatically generating a custom quiz each time? Like, can it be personalized?
Yeah, 100%, right? So one thing is when you think about a conversational interface with specific to chat, right? Um, with this LLM technology, you feel like it's talking to you. You really feel like it's talking to you. It's not giving you canned responses, right? It's really talking to you. When you go to ChatGPT and with the latest models, it really does feel like you're talking to a real person. And if you try the voice mode at ChatGPT, it's phenomenal, right? But when you're interacting with a website with respect to a quiz, not only are you able to chat, fluently, and it's responding to you fluently, can it actually show you visuals, or can it actually generate content that the merchant wants you to generate similarly, right? Which feels completely tailored towards you. So when you, for example, go into a quiz, one of the ones that that we create, when you it asks you maybe one or two questions to begin with. Let's get started. So like an icebreaker, tell me, why you came here, and these are the kinds of things you can say. Or in some cases, it would ask you like a question to say, first tell me your gender, and then we can get started, right? So just like it sort of breaks the ice like that. Then the next set of questions that it asks, it adapts based on your responses and what it is instructed to do, right? So it is instructed not so much that, I need to do these 11 steps. The way it is instructed is that, hey, your goal is to recommend a product to this user based on certain parameters, right? So its goal is to have this conversation with you, and then adapt its responses, adapt the next question that it asks based on what you said. So if you gave some information that it needed, let's say in a traditional quiz in the last step, but you gave it first, it's not going to ask you that question, right? Because it already got that information. And then when it recommends products, it actually generates the PDPs for those products based on what's important to you. So if you said, hey, does this contain organic ingredients? Or rather, you wouldn't say that. You would say, do you have, a multivitamin that's only made with organic ingredients, right? So when it generates the product recommendation to you, it will focus itself on, oh, it looks like this person cares about organic ingredients. Let me actually tell them what I know about that, or how I can position my product with respect to your input. So it adapts based on that. So I think that really makes it, and you're not spoofing that in any way, right? This is not lying to you. It's just tailoring the content of what is the truth to what matters to you, right? So for another example, if you really care about clinical results, well, then it will focus the PDP on clinical results and keep everything else for later, right?
I want it on every website. Because otherwise I'm digging for it, right? I was just ordering replacement pool filters. And the only two things I cared about were the dimensions, right? And the square foot filters, how many square feet the actual filters cover. Those were the only two things. If I got those two things right, and it's a reputable seller or a reputable website, I'm good. I don't need anything else. And if it could just generate and I could just tell it, this is what I care about and this is what I'm looking for, and it can say, oh yeah, here's the things I want it on every website, Darpan. I want every website I go to just personalize it. If you're saying that the PDP for me can be personalized, I mean, now you're getting to a true, that if we go back, do you remember this is like 5 years ago, maybe even 4 years ago, this idea around like absolute one-to-one personalization. And they're like, no, you don't need to do it. I mean, everybody was like this, almost like a pipe dream that was so far away. And they're like, oh no, just, get into the right segments, right? And just get them small enough and personalize it to the segment. Don't get to a one-on-one level. And what you're explaining to me is you can get to a one-on-one level based on the information I'm putting in. And that was a tough thing in the past, right? Is you couldn't get enough information from me to be ultra personalized. You had to get the information and see how it matched up with another cohort the most, and then fed that to me, whether it's search results or whatever. And now I'm giving, if you can get the customer comfortable enough in an easy enough pathway to provide that information, a data entry point, you can get one-on-one personalization.
Yeah, I totally agree.
This is awesome, dude. This is awesome.
Yeah, I think the personalization sort of dream never materialized. I mean, I don't really come from e-commerce, but obviously have been shopping, right, all my life, but there's like very few companies that do personalization well, like very few companies. And this is, you're talking about companies at the scale of Amazon, right? So maybe Amazon does a great job of personalization, just because they have the resources and they've had, just this enormous amount of data and whatever. But
Right. For me, you've got 25 years of buying history.
yeah,
Right.
right.
Nobody, who else has that? I mean, yeah, Apple or Google, Microsoft, whoever. But if you're a normal company, you don't have 25 years, let alone if it's a new customer, you don't have you don't have anything.
Yeah, and just the wide variety of data they have, right? They don't just have. I mean, so that's a category of company that is, you can count them on your fingers that do personalization well, right? But the other companies, they just don't. I mean, and it's not. I think the technology wasn't there, and even
Right.
that personalization was in many ways limited to, maybe homepage. Let me show you. All right, so let me show you maybe the 6 shirts that you're most likely to buy, right? But you still couldn't engage with it, still couldn't really truly engage with it for that particular moment. And now I think you can. So that's the reason, we are super excited. I think this is bringing some really amazing results to early customers that we have. And I think shopper satisfaction is going to be very high. And it's no surprise that, Perplexity is doing shopping, and ChatGPT is doing shopping, and Google is doing shopping, and all of these platforms are going to, perform or give you these shopping capabilities very similar to Google gave you shopping, right? But as a brand, you still don't want people to, go to these websites because they don't represent your brand, right? So to represent your brand, you still have to bring people to your location, to your property, and then, present yourself, present who you stand for there.
I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome. Yeah, I think I agree with you on the brand side. Is everybody, and even the tech that was out there saying, "Hey, we're doing personalized content." They always wanted to get to the one-to-one level, but they just didn't. And one of those barriers was, I think, and the brand side too, they just didn't have the tech to do it. Everybody wanted it. And I think in my mind, the fundamental changing factor is um, getting people, consumers, shoppers to get comfortable enough to give more information in a setting, right? And that comes through more a conversational style of commerce as a whole. And the other thing, obviously, is the LM, the processing power and everything on the back end that allows you to do it. And those two things have now come together where I think we will drastically see over the next, 12 to 18 months, the user experience drastically change. And if you're not doing it, you're going to get left behind. That's just the reality.
I think that's absolutely going to be the case. I think if you are not thinking about using AI in almost every aspect of your business, I do fear that you will be lagging. I think the adoption has been so fast, unlike any other technology before. Because the adoption has been so fast, user behavior is changing very rapidly, and you're going to have your shoppers ask you, "All right, why can't I have this chat GPT like experience in
Mm.
your website?" I think people are going to ask that. And the sooner, all of these technologies, they take time, right? I totally understand. It takes time. But it's not something that, you can sit back and, put it on the back burner and say, you know what, we look at this 24 months from now. I think that would be a mistake. That would be a strategy mistake, in my opinion. I think there's definitely ways in which you can, see what works for you. There's ways to experiment. All of that has gotten much better. And we're not the only ones doing this. There's a lot of impetus in the industry on improving the customer experience using AI.
Yeah, I mean, one of the other things is just the cost as well, right? The cost of doing something at scale like this has come down. right? Like it's not 24 to $32,000 a month, right? I mean, that, which was just the starting point before. And so it limited itself to only the huge websites doing a really, really high volume, where now the overall tech costs have been driven down, that it's actually usable, right? We have the first adopters that have gone through and kind of funded the way, and the fast followers now are able to, build this new tech and then send it out to customers at a very affordable cost at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think all costs are coming down, right? So because one, the model cost is coming down, it just comes down, it's come down very rapidly. But think about, things like deployment, integration, implementation cost because of the AI tools that are available to developers now. The integration cost has actually come down a lot, and that's what I mean. Like as a business, you have to think about AI holistically. And when you think about, okay, previously, if for me it took 6 months to integrate a technology, that's just not true anymore. Even if you're in a complex IT environment, even in complicated IT environments, with all the AI that's available, we are able to deploy this in weeks, and really months is a bad word now, right?
Right.
So you got to be able to do this. You can do this in weeks. It's relatively
And
low.
that's like App0, like for you, like if you're going to roll this out, like how long does it take?
So it depends on the components, right? So I mentioned that you can do a whole bunch of different components. You can do quizzes, FAQs, comparisons, chat. Um, so for some of these, and it depends on the platform you're running, right? So if you're running like Shopify, then some of these components are just plug and play, right? So the FAQ just plug and play. You don't do much. But thinking about expert-led chat, you're really looking at 4 to 6 weeks. That's it. You're not really looking
Unbelievable.
at a long time, because all of this deployment can be done very, very quickly. And you can iterate, right? So you can push something out to a subset of your users, see how it performs, iterate on it, improve on it. Um, One thing that's been consistent across our customers is that it does perform, and you sort of intuitively think that it should, because imagine the number of people that come to your website and go away because they just can't find the information that they're looking for, or you just have so much information over there that overwhelms them, right? You just load your web page with so much data, with so much information, with so many graphics, that at times, people look at it and they're like, oh, maybe I need to spend more time looking at this, and they come back, and they drop away, right? So intuitively, I think you feel that such a tool would be naturally be very useful, and it would convert, and the data shows that it does.
Yeah. I mean, I've been picking your brain for a while. Any questions you have for me? I mean, thanks for your time. This is awesome, but I always like to throw it back. Like if you have things, um,
Yeah, would
questions for
love
me. Yeah.
to, would love to hear from your point of view as you talk to, marketers and CMOs from different brands or other people at brands. How are they talking to you about it?
It is conversion rate, like optimization. But they're looking for the next level of change. That's what they're looking for. Everybody's being pushed into, hey, how are you using AI? How are you using AI? And I put that AI piece into actually 3 buckets. There's the personal bucket of how you use it in your daily life. There's the next one of how do I use AI to help me get through emails faster, consolidate list, rationalize Excel spreadsheets, whatever it might be, which just optimizes daily efficiency. But when it comes to AI that's going to have a huge impact on the business, they're looking for partners to come in. And so, um, it's interesting as you're as we're fielding these questions, like the number of options to significantly impact your direct consumer website conversion rate are very few right now. There's a lot of that could have a meaningful impact, and goes up by you know zero point zero 0.05 basis points. Look at what we did. Like,
Yeah.
it's a rounding error. But as more and more things pop up, I think over the next 12 months, there's going to be some really cool stuff. I mean, App0 is one of them. There's going to be some really cool new things that are going to drive that conversion rate. That's probably the number one. Again, like I was saying at the beginning, it's like we spend all this time, effort, and money to get somebody to the site. Like, and to your point earlier, like everybody's leveled up, right? Like everybody's doing the basics right now. And what used to be, the top, newest things to do are on all this now table stakes, and everybody's doing them. And they've been waiting for this next wave of technology to come through to help them out. That's what they want. And so that's interesting on the direct consumer side. That's probably one of the top ones. Obviously, profitability is with everybody. But if you can increase conversion rate and keep your marketing costs the same, you're winning at the end of the day. So that's top of the line for a lot of people. And it's just interesting. That's what it is. Other things we just had bias around like tariffs and stuff and impact on pricing. Those things are obviously up, but that just has people focusing now on the things they can control. Because they can't control over those. They've been scenario planning for 3, 4, 5 months now. How can we get our hands around our website and the things that we can control to drive conversion and control cost? That's probably 40% of the conversations I'm having right now, probably 40%. So a good chunk is mixed in there.
What sort of hesitations are you seeing when people are talking about AI?
The first hesitation is people just don't have the time to learn something new. And in the absence of knowledge, it seems as though people oversimplify and assume the worst. And, that's probably the biggest hesitation is people are just overworked. It's not they don't want it. It's just, there's been a lot of reductions in the digital workforce over the past, I would say 9 months or so now. And so everybody's working more. And, it's like, I think like, hey, I've got this tool. If you can take 5 weeks to learn it, it will have your current, workload and you will be able to do twice as much. I don't have 5 weeks to do that, right? To dedicate to it. And so that's a big part of it is this, they don't have the time. So if you can get something simple, as I talk to, a lot of like tech providers and partners that are out there, if you can get something that's fairly easy to implement and to test with limited downside or cost, like remove all of those barriers. It's still going to be tough to have people commit time. But if you can do that, then it gets a whole lot easier. And the quicker that you can show an actual improvement, it helps, right? It's hard to say, hey, it's 6 months from now, all of this SEO work is going to, pan out. I need to show, because I mean, if you think about the CMOs, they want, they want a demonstration that there's a return on investment on everything. So it's interesting, but that's probably the biggest hesitation. It's just, they don't have the time. Everybody wants it. They just don't have the time, which is interesting. That's what it is. It's interesting. Yeah. Any cool stuff that you see popping up?
So we call stuff cool when we run an A/B test with a customer and we see an 80 basis point increase in conversion. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's pretty cool, right? So, we are very data driven as a company. And like I said, we have an insight or we have an intuition that this is going to work. But then running an A/B test with, at scale and then seeing that, all right, this is really moving the needle, I think is pretty cool because, and, talking about improving conversion rates by 15, 20% to your existing can be massive upside to
Yeah.
your top line, massive upside, right? I mean, we don't have to do the math here, but just a little bump in your conversion rate can mean a lot. Keep your marketing dollars the same, and then it has other sort of non-tangible benefits, because if someone really engaged with you and bought something, your return rates are going to come down, because they found what they were looking for. So unless something was wrong with the product, it's going to be the return rate should come down. Just the customer expectations will now be at a completely different level. So when they engage with you at this personal level and they get this kind of service, even though it's coming from an AI, and they know it's coming from an AI, they are very, very likely to come back, because it's just a differentiating experience. So
Right.
I think that creating that differentiation for your brand, seeing conversion, having customers come back I think is all just really, it's end of the day, it's cool, it's satisfying for us, because we're making a difference for merchants. So that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Darpan, thanks so much for your time today. Thanks for jumping on and kind of sharing your insights across the industry. Everybody, check out App0. Super cool stuff that's popping up there. With that, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Digital Deep Dive. Thanks, everybody, for listening in.
Thank you.